Hey guys, Professor Bill, Comic Book University, and Sins of Sinister, issue number 1 and only. The next book technically will be Sins of Sinister Dominion, which will be the final book, and there'll be 3 sets of 3-issue books in between these, which is probably the worst part of this entire story. But at the end of the day, this right here was actually a pretty good comic book. It could have been a whole lot better by being more than one comic book, but how the hell do I know? Anyway, before I actually get to who made this comic book, I love this setup that they do here. Hell is other people, a quote by Jean-Paul Sartre. Then it's crossed out, and it's actually Nathaniel Essex, who is Mr. Sinister, indicating that Nathaniel Essex was actually Jean-Paul Sartre, or a clone of him of some sort, which is freaking hysterical because holy crap. So let's get talking about who made this book, and we'll go on from there. This is part 1. Everything is sinister, literally. Kieran Gillen is the writer. Lucas Wernick is the artist, along with a whole bunch of other people. And sorry, I got better things to do than name all these people, but there are a lot of special guest artists in here. Color artist is Brian Valenza, and VC's Clayton Cowles does the letters. Design is by Jay Bowen, and the cover art is by Lanil Francis Yu and Jesus Abratov. There's a variant cut. One variant cover? No, there's also a Stormbreakers edition out there. 2 of them. I don't know. Whatever. There's some stuff out there. Guys, let's get talking about this comic book because it's a freaking weird one. I like the beginning where, it's usually Professor X or somebody bringing the mutants back to life, when they go through the egg process and whatnot. The council, the 5, right? Here it's actually Mr. Sinister doing it, though, doing this fake Jesus kind of thing. To me, my me's, he says. I love it. The snake in a garden. I'm glad to see that we're finally getting to see this thing where we find out what exactly it is that Mr. Sinister does in order to be worthy of this thing. I remember when I was reading the original House of X and House of, what was it? Hox Pox, Powers of 10. House of X, Powers of 10, those 5 and 5 issues. Some of the best freaking story writing I've ever seen in my life. Like, I was so impressed by what Jonathan Hickman was doing and all of the foreshadowing that was done. And the idea that ultimately all of Krakoa, everything that the X-Men had worked for, would be completely betrayed eventually by Mr. Sinister. But it also did the thing where it was like the present, or 10 years in, plus the 10 years in the future, plus the 100 years in the future, plus 1,000 years in the future. And all of this made possible through the many trials and tribulations of Moira McTaggart. I am so, there's so much, I read this and I'm like, I can't wait to see so much of this stuff pan out. And I think for the most part, the final thing was supposed to be Mr. Sinister's betrayal of mutant kind. We should have seen that one coming, and yet we thought that we were invincible. I love that in the beginning, as we're watching the X-Men get more and more powerful, we're already told how it's all going to end, and it all ends in this one issue. Sinister does all these crazy things. So at some point, this is a recap of something recently. Mr. Sinister gets thrown into the pit that Sabretooth inadvertently created. So, and when Professor X pulls off his portable Cerebro helmet, he's got a diamond on his forehead. I'm like, whoa. I haven't been reading anything else, so what the hell does that mean? And then it very quickly leads to this thing where Emma Frost shows up and she's also got the diamond. I'm like, wait, did Mr. Sinister clone himself, but also add Professor X genes, and then clone himself again and add Emma Frost genes? And then he winds up doing it with Exodus and Hope also, and he winds up doing and I'm expecting, Krakoa itself to have that thing, but it doesn't. Anyway, all these different X people having the gene, and they're fighting each other, and I'm just like, I don't understand, why is this going? And then I have to step back, and I have to kind of be like, I'm just now realizing this could actually be really fun. Cypher. I'm trying to be like Cypher in this. I'm just sitting back from everything next to Krakoa, and I'm watching and I'm looking at the stuff unfold, and I'm like, why would they be fighting each other for all the same thing? And then I'm like, wait a second, what they've been doing with Sinister for a while now is the multiple different clones, and they're all trying to assassinate each other to be the prime Sinister, right? They don't have that kismet going on like Jimmy Madrox would have. So I'm reading this and I'm like, this is actually really impressive. They've all got their own personalities, but they're all loyal-ish to Mr. Sinister, while at the same time, they're not going to be, because it's in the very nature of Mr. Sinister to be the epitome of all chaos. Like he's the yang to the yin-yang. Up your yin-yang, whatever. Anyway, it makes sense on some version of Earth. So the idea these guys are all fighting with each other, and Storm seems to be the only one who's on the outs of this. I dig on that. I dig on that a lot. I'm wondering if Kitty Pryde is also out of this. It starts to show how deep this stuff is. I'm following this comic book and I'm completely entranced. And the thing that got me the most was the idea that here's Foggy Nelson is shown later on in the comic book, and it's just a blurb. It's a quick 3-panel thing or something like that, and then he's gone forever. But not Foggy Nelson. What the heck is this guy's name? He worked for the Daily Bugle, therefore J. Jonah Jameson, but instead of being in the Spider-Man comics, he was in the Daredevil comics. Damn it. The hell? Not Ben Reilly. Was it Ben Reilly? The hell? Say the freaking guy's name. This is so frustrating. Anyway, this guy. The guy who's always trying to report on Daredevil. So anyway, shows up and he's trying to do this injection test thing to see if J. Jonah Jameson is actually infected by the Sinister clone thing. Turns up negative. But then when he goes and reveals the information that he has, what's his face? J. Jonah Jameson reveals that he's actually got the diamond also. That freaked me out. I'm like, whoa. J. Jonah Jameson couldn't have been more evil. What the hell happened here? So then it's revealed that Sinister put out a fake test to see if somebody had the gene. This was the first indication that this was going too fast. But I let it go because it was so amazing. Right? And like maybe they're trying to speed up a little bit just to get the excitement going, because I'm enamored. I'm completely hypnotized by how amazing this is. Dude, like these guys come in and they kidnap him. And then the Sinister, the quiet council, the silent council that goes up to Forge at one point, you can see underneath his headband, he's got the Sinister diamond there. And they're talking about, can you make this orbiting explosion thing? And like, yeah, and Hope is like, I can't wait to blow that. Boom. It's like, yeah, that sounds like Hope. I still remember when she shut out her dad's eye and made him a real Cyclops. I'm like, is the Age of Apocalypse coming sooner than I thought? And they blow up freaking Krakoa. They wind up essentially killing Krakoa with an orbital blast. Wolverine Sinistered up and coming through his freaking hat, mask thing. He comes up and right behind Cypher just freaking takes this guy out. Emma Frost goes out and puts this psychic thing out saying, oh, hey, check it out. Turns out that Orcus made an attack on Krakoa, so we're going to have to clamp down on some stuff, and I need you guys to help out, including all of Earth's heroes. So Captain America and the rest of the Avengers show up, and they start taking out the remnant cells of Orcus that are out there. They go after Nimrod. They're able to actually disintegrate Nimrod. I'm sorry. Oh, that's right. I took down all my toys. My action figures. Bro, they just deleted Nimrod. I mean, maybe he'll show up again, but like this was a big deal. And they just vaporized him. He's gone. That was highly unexpected. We see every so often Storm keeps on showing up here and there, and that's going to be important later on. You'll understand why if you already understand if you've been reading it. At one point, Cyclops and Captain America are hanging out, and they're actually really cool with each other. And then Cyclops offers him to take the mutant gene, and I haven't been reading the X-Men comic books lately. I read like the first 3 issues, or maybe 4, of X-Men Red, because I wanted to see Thunderbird coming back. Hate the costume. I think Thunder Rosa did that story from AEW wrestling. Anyway, it's cool to see, here's a common enemy that the X-Men, specifically Scott and Captain America, can get together with. Unfortunately, as typical, Captain America has always done, like, in the rest of the comics, he's always done to be one of the greatest characters ever. But in the X-Men comic books, he's always written to be some chump punk, jackass, racist, whatever guy, right? Like, X-Men fans hate Captain America. I'm a comic book fan, so I get to bypass all that stuff. He says, why don't you take the mutant gene and become a mutant, Captain Mutant America, or whatever it is. You know what I'm saying? What was Captain America, mutant. He's like, it'll be a hell of a statement, right? We're in this together. So he's basically saying, yes, I'll do it. It's like, that's weird. Anyway, Sinister comes back out of the pit because he's released out of the pit. And you see Krakoa itself is actually on life support to keep the island, I don't know, facettable, to make it solid enough that they can walk on it. There's some weird that they actually start setting up flags of Sinister with a big diamond on it and stuff like that. And they start doing all these different things, these weird things, and start making like predictions and everything like that. They got the solution, the Sinister abstract for 4 trillion. Yeah, the incredible genius of Mr. Sinister, part 4 trillion. Abstract. All this weird stuff. And of course, the final part is gloat. They talk about the Moira engine, which allows them to avoid all mistakes. That's interesting. And I'd like to know the science of how that works. Hickman was able to give us a very, very realistic version of the sciences that actually made a lot of sense. Not perfect sense, but a lot of sense to anybody who loves, the science-minded stories. It was really amazing. Here, it's fixed. Well, how? Give us an idea. Get sci-fi on us, man. They didn't. Anyway, starts talking about how he did all this stuff and what he's doing in the future, the little things that happen. Like, one of the first things that he predicts is, what do you call it? Thanos is going to do another purge thing, but Juggernaut volunteers to kill him, and instead of it being a fight, they miniaturize him and turn him into a bullet. Goes through and kills Thanos one shot. Really? It was always that easy to kill him? Okay. And then Juggernaut just kind of disappears into the void that nobody ever thinks to go and retrieve him because they don't actually care. I like this a whole lot. They send Namor to kill Dr. Doom. And this is really cool because they say there's one cloned Doombot found among some Orcus remnants claiming to, be the real one and whatnot. And it's like, that's cool because that would be exactly what Doom would do, right? Maybe the new version of Kristoff or something. Doom would have a contingency plan. I love that. This is annoying. The one page where they got the X-Men and the Arakai going against the Eternals. It's like, can we just forget about the Eternals? Like, come on, man. Just stop. This one's a little bit unrealistic. Sinister's able to cure Ben Grimm, but, because they use the Mystique gene. And he comes back and he kills Reed Richards and all the other guys, turns them into things before they die. That's cute and all, but, anybody who reads those comic books knows that would absolutely never happen. They go back with the idea that Captain America is going to have to kill the president in order to take over the country, and it helps a little bit until Wolverine and Scott Summers, I guess, is able to kill him. That's okay, cool. And then eventually Storm goes and this happens so fast. And this was the part where I'm just like, okay, now it's just going too fast. Storm shows up and says, that's not really Kurt Wagner, the incredible Kurt Wagner. That's not him. He's like, no, you're right. This is him. It's like, Sinister, why are you out here? You're supposed to be in your pit. And oh yeah, oops. And she's like, okay, well, you're not going to stop me. So actually, we're going to have Emma Frost and Professor X mind change you. But then she goes and she already thought about going there earlier and hangs out with somebody. Who the hell was it? Hangs out with somebody. We don't know who, I don't think. And says, I don't know. Maybe they say it in one of the previous comic books, but nobody goes into Krakoa without a plan and contingency plans and protections and shields. So apparently the secret word to make it active was "you make sure," and then she crack goom and then flies out and escapes, and then everybody's going. So she's basically, if not the leader, then one of the leaders. I think she's the leader of the rebellion. Mystique and Destiny are there to help out. All sorts of other cool stuff starts happening in this. I don't want to get into everything. Magic looking hot as hell. Better than the daughter of Satan and all that. But at one point she gets Twilight and she goes after what do you call it? Asgard. So like she's the bringer of Ragnarok. There was the No More Wanda, just in case. This was a very Sinister-esque story, and it's wild to see it. Here's the stuff that actually starts to get interesting. One of the things that we were going to see in the future, which I didn't know if I was going to be prepared to see, if I was going to enjoy seeing it, is the idea of the combining the X-Men, the mutants and whatnot, so that they would have, you could take two different genes and splice them together, merged into one being. So you got Beast Cyclops, or not Beast Cyclops, Beast Colossus. You got Sunfire and Silver Samurai, I guess that is. Teamed up. You got Wolverine and I don't know what that's supposed to be. Is that supposed to be like freaking Scott Summers? I don't know. Anyway, you got a bunch of people put together, right? I don't know. There's a lot here. The Foggy Nelson stuff. Like there's a lot. This just does not freaking stop. Eventually, by the end, they capture Sinister. It's other Sinisters that capture Sinister. It's actually kind of cool. Now, this was the only one of its kind. Now, the next 3 books that come out are going to be Storm and the Brotherhood of Mutants, issue number 1, Nightcrawlers, issue number 1, and Immoral, not Immortal, Immoral X-Men number 1. Those are all going to come out in February, 8th, 15th, and 22nd, respectively. That's going to be the year 10 stuff. Then there's going to be the part 2s of those 3 comic books. That's the year 100 stuff. That all comes out on the 8th, 15th, and 22nd, respectively, of March. And then on the 5th, 12th, and 19th of April, the year 1000 stuff in the issue 3s of those 3 comic books. Also, at the very end of did I say August? I meant October. I meant April. January, February, March, April. So at the end of April, the 26th, The Sins of Sinister Dominion, which is the final issue. I'm interested in seeing how this ends. I don't know that I'm going to be buying all 3 of these comic books. In fact, I'm pretty damn sure that I'm not going to be buying these other 3 comic books to see these other things going on. I mean, look, here's the thing. While I don't think it'll necessarily be bad, I do believe it'll be rushed. You guys who follow me, you know that to me, the worst thing you could do to a comic book is to rush it. Timing is important. But this probably has a lot to do with me, being a musician. I wouldn't say I'm necessarily me. I shouldn't say that. I like music. I like playing music. I like, playing a bunch of different instruments and whatnot. Just got a blues harp up here in G. You know what I'm saying? I actually just freaking played some of it today for the first time. It's 11:03 in the PM right now. And the whole family's sleeping, including neighbors, so I don't think I'll be playing it right now for you, but you get my gist, right? So for me, timing is very important, always very important. And it's frustrating to see that this was a year's worth of story, easily 6 months worth of story, all shoved into this little thing. It's almost like somebody, Jordan White, I don't know, somebody said, listen, wrap up this X-Men stuff. People aren't into it anymore, blah, 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 and make them regular mutants again. Okay. I think most of us knew that eventually this was going to be the case, but this Krakoa stuff could have gone on for years more if they just would have paid attention to it, if they would have had better people on it. A lot of times what they're doing is they're just making everything, I hate saying a diversity hire, but they have yet to prove that that's not the case. And sometimes they're very talented people, but like at the end of the day, it's one of those things where it's like, stop hiring black people to write Black Panther for the sole reason that they're black. Because that's demeaning. That's racist. That's insulting. Hire people who know how to write the character, who are excited about writing the character and can show you, work that they've done that, boom, hey, here you go. Or at least, people who actually, they're actually a strong, solid fan base behind the work that they've done. Because John Ridley certainly doesn't fall under the first category. He's got a huge writing career, but the problem is, lately in the comic books, people just aren't into the guy. In general, right? There's always going to be pockets of fans. It's really frustrating to me, genuinely, to see that they're taking this legacy of the X-Men, and this is the most incredible thing that's ever happened to them, and they just, ugh. There was a funny part here. Kieran Gillen is a really good writer. He was able to just pack stuff in, and all I could feel was that it was packed in too much. I didn't dislike most of the things that happened here. In fact, some things were kind of funny. The idea, he says at one point, what am I supposed to do? Skulk in the shadows or something like that? That's like such a 90s thing to do. Yeah, when he was introduced, I see what you did there. But here, I have nothing bad to say about what Kieran Gillen did in here. It's my understanding that he just did what he was told to do. What I do blame is the higher-ups, and I don't know if it's Jordan White or much higher, probably much higher. But just because the X-Men stuff hasn't been selling doesn't mean that you just rush through it and get back to the regular X-Men. No, what it means is you start writing better stuff. Because this Krakoa stuff could have gone on for a whole lot longer. There could have been better stuff involved, like things not involving the freaking Eternals of all things. Instead, just start writing better stories. Start leading into this story. This one issue should have taken at least 6 months to tell over the course of many books and get us actually into the books. Put the little freaking asterisks at the bottom to say, hey, if you're wondering how this is such and such happened, come over to that book and have a good writer on that book. Not some freaking schlub who you basically hired because like, oh, this will help out with our whatever score to show that we're hiring women. Yeah, but there are women who know how to write. You don't have to just hire any old woman. And we're going to hire this and that and that. Yeah. Actually go out of your way to find people who can write. How about that? They mostly go out of the way to find people who can draw. No, find people who know how to write. That's the biggest problem in Marvel right now. And there are a couple of them. These are characters who are horribly written. And like this is the stuff that we have to see. Kieran Gillen is an amazing writer. And instead of letting him take a long time to put this together, instead you just, he's forced. I'm imagining he's forced. And if he chose to do this on his own, shame on you. Shame on you to not let this story breathe. But this could have gone on for 6 months at least and built up to some of these final moments that this book where we're just like, oh my God, what the F is going to happen next? And we genuinely need to know. You could have built up so much passion for these stories. Passion like those first 10 issues, the Hoxpox stuff. It could have been just as hype. And we'd have all known, holy crap, it's all actually coming to an end right before our eyes. Slowly start to remember these things. Because I look and I see, oh, we're going to do the 10 years in the future, 100 years in the future, and 1,000 years in the future. Oh, so that's when they're going to add the 3 X genes spliced together, the 4 X genes spliced together, and then finally, the ultimate prize, the 5 X genes spliced together. Stuff that should have taken forever to show us. And they're going to give it to us in 3 lousy months with 9 lousy issues. This issue alone should have taken months to pan out. And it could have been amazing. Instead of just, this guy gets killed, that guy gets chopped up, this guy gets eviscerated, this guy gets blown up, this thing get, like, and all we're left is, did this stuff really happen? Nah, that's a shame. It is what it is, though. This is how they want to produce the stuff. I will probably, there's a pretty high chance that I'm going to be reading the Sins of Sinister Dominion when it comes out at the end of April. But all this stuff tells me is I probably don't have a lot to do with the X-Men until then. Thanks. I just jumped back on. Seems like they're just, like, Marvel is given all these balls, and instead of having balls, they're dropping them. See what I did there? Guys, I will be talking to all you later. I just don't want to spend any more time on this. It's not like they want to spend any time on this. All right, like the video, watch an ad. Professor Bill, Comic Book University. Class dismissed.